Well, you haven't heard the last of me yet, and if some of you like this, maybe let incoming president know. I wouldn't mind doing 3 to 5 minute historic stretches from here on out about us and our history here in Alaska, as not too many people look back. And if you don't look back, you're certainly going to look forward to do the same thing all over again at twice the expense. On the 31st of June, Richard Johnson and D.R. Price staked a lode claim on what they called Lightning Creek, eventually named Johnson Creek, that flowed into Berners Bay, and the beginning of Wan Lin Mining and Milling Company, hard rock gold mining. 1899, Fred G. Kimball arrives at St. Michael's, sorting and redirecting the mail at Alaska Commercial Company's boarding house, making his stake to move on as gold-rich Nome gripped him. 200 military troops land there, with 20 headed to Nome to keep order, 20 to go to Nome in early July after resurrection, and something to take care of was necessary. He and the U.S. Postmaster are bunked together on the floor of the post office in the corner of a large tent, having mushed mail to Nome in 1899, and that was the beginning of mail delivery here in the good old gold rush town. And on the 1st of July, 1786, while charting Lutaya Bay, two small boats are swamped by riptides and 21 French sailors drowned. U.S. mail routes approved and begins for mail leaving Sitka. And our good friend John Clum, which I've mentioned earlier, starts his history in Alaska by coming down the Yukon River, creating all those post offices. And in 1900, Nome had become a busy frontier town with a population of around 20,000 plus or minus, boasting more than 60 saloons. I've seen as many as 100 listed. I don't think anybody kept any records. Dozens of criminals, and I doubt there was more than dozens, and a few hundred prostitutes, that might be close, and dishonest officials. Even right up to the last few decades, that problem seemed to still exist in the likes of Bush, Alaska. Also attracting the likes of Rex Beach, who will write the spoilers, much in line with what really happened in Nome. 1944, on this date, the Joint War Plan Committee, JWPC, recommended that without a paramushiru, Japanese word, assault, the number of ground troops in Alaska would be reduced from 121,345, more than our population at that time, to 80,000. The 2nd of July, in 1825, the local church of the Lord's Ascension was founded and consecrated. In 1865, on the 2nd of July, E. Chamberlain was born in Berlin, Wisconsin, coming to Skagway in 1897, first working in the freighting business, but gold takes him to Dawson and then on to Nome. In 1908, he mushes to Seward from Nome with his famous Leader Blossom, named after Blossom Point in Kotzebue Sound. He uses his dog team over the years to move freight, construction materials for the Alaska Central and the Alaska Northern Railways, and for the Alaska Engineering Commission during the construction of the Alaska Railroad. Further carries 3 tons of supplies to Kenai Mining and Milling Company at Cooper Creek. He serves on the Seward City Council from 1913 to 1917, as mayor of Seward from 1919 to 1920, in the Territorial Senate from 1921 to 25, as tax collector in Bristol Bay in 1925 or 23, and U.S. Commissioner McCarthy from 1926 to 1936, dying in May 27, 1948. And we'll go one more day, because July is the beginning of really things beginning to move in Alaska, and the ibids and dibids get thicker and longer. The first airplane in Alaska makes a demonstration flight at Fairbanks piloted by James V. Lilly. That was 1913. 1923, end of March, Ben Eielson, along with a group of businessmen, formed the Farthest North Airplane Company in Fairbanks. Let's see. I'll be darned. They can push a button and things just sort of disappear on you. Yeah, way beyond. We'll get back. The first airplane in Alaska makes a demonstration flight at Fairbanks. End of March, Ben Eielson, along with a group of businessmen, form the Farthest North Airplane Company in Fairbanks to purchase a Curtiss OX-5, which was the latest thing going at that time, which arrives in Anchorage on board the Alameda, the plane then accompanied by Eielson and mechanic William Ambler, assembled a plane and test fly it on this date in Fairbanks. 1983, Dr. Robert Frazier, Chief of Communicable Disease Section of the Alaska Department of Health and Social Services, in an article by Wallace Turner in New York, was quoted, "No population group in the world has as much TB as rural Alaska. There were no funds in 1940 when the disease began to flourish, and then only funds to send 40 cases south for treatment. 1,322 deaths were reported in 1943 attributable to TB, or 21% of all native deaths. A school teacher at Barrow noted of 30 students, 5 to 6 who entered school, that only 6 lived to finish." And folks, this is our history. Like it, leave it, or lump it, it is what it is. I'd be glad if you're still interested to do something on a weekly or monthly basis in a shorter term, but we are Alaskan and hopefully Yukon Territorians, and we have tentacles all over the world. Alaska's the history, and we'll touch on the Yukon Territory when we get members within that area to be one of us. Thank you, and I've appreciated being your president for a year. It's been a tough year trying to get ourselves organized, but we will persevere. We've got a great organization. We just have to go out and sell it. Thank you. Enjoyed the time being with you.